I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. I tell you that. If I decide to run, you'll have the great pleasure of voting for the man that will easily go down as the greatest president in the history of the United States. Me, Donald John Trump. Part of the beauty of me is that I'm very rich.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't.
Rosie O'Donnell's disgusting. I mean, both inside and out. You take a look at her, she's a slob. She talks like a truck driver. We're all a little chubby, but Rosie's just worse than most of us. But it's not the chubbiness. Rosie is a very unattractive person, both inside and out. If I were running The View, I'd fire Rosie. I mean, I'd look her right in that fat, ugly face of hers. I'd say, Rosie, you're fired.
But Mr. Trump, you're not a nice person.
We don't need nice.
That's true. But actually, I am. I think I am a nice person. I'm actually a nice person. I'm really rich. I'll show you that in a second. I like China. I just sold an apartment for $15 million to somebody from China. 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 I've been saying China. 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 Smart. I'm really smart. I want to get rid of that house.
It's going to create a bit of a stir, but if we're all...
Who cares? Who cares? You know what? Who cares?
We need a leader that wrote The Art of the Deal. Nobody would be tougher on ISIS than Donald Trump.
Do you understand me? And I'm going to sue you if I have to. Do you understand me? Yes, I hung up. You didn't get disconnected. I hung up.
I don't need anybody's money. It's nice. I'm really rich. $5 billion we spent on a website. I hire people. They do a website. It costs me $3.
Some business idea that I just want to tell you about, and I'll be a fool if...
Very quickly.
The performance could have been better.
Could have been better.
It could have been a hell of a lot better. But look, I'm not a guy who's going to run around blaming people. So I'm going to take responsibility for that.
That's fine.
So if you want to fire me, go right ahead.
All right, Gene,
but I think
you're fired.
I would build a great wall, and nobody builds walls better than me, believe me.
Hey, look at this! Donald Trump! Donald Trump! Donald Trump! Take it down, Mr. Oh, my God! The hostile takeover of Donald Trump!
Do you mind if I sit back a little bit? Because your breath is very bad. It really is. Has this ever been told to you before?
No.
Huh? Okay, then I won't bother. Hey, Michael, let me ask you a question. He's knocking the hell out of Stephanie. He's telling me how bad Stephanie is, and you're interrupting him with nonsense over nothing. Why don't you let him knock Stephanie? He's not knocking you for a change. I mean, how stupid can you be?
Mr. Trump, I can't...
Well, let me ask you this. He's knocking Stephanie, and you want him to stop knocking Stephanie. I'm starting to think that maybe you should be fired. What do you think about that?
Mr. Trump, it's
why wouldn't you let him go? Let me ask you this, Michael. He's killing her. He's going after her. She should be fired, according to him. And you're trying to stop him from talking.
Because, Mr. Trump, I was...
Hey, look, you claim to be like me. The difference is I work hard. You've been lazy. You've been nothing but trouble. And now you cut them off as they're fighting each other for who should be fired. Michael,
yes,
Michael.
Yes, sir.
You're fired.
What's the difference between a wet raccoon and Donald J. Trump's hair? A wet raccoon doesn't have $7 billion in the bank.
That's what I'm talking about. What do you think?
I mean, honestly, it happens to be 100% true.
Secretary Clinton, Mr. Trump, welcome. Let's get right to it. In fact, states a woman's right to abortion.
Well, if that would happen, because I am pro-life and I will be appointing pro-life judges, I would think that that will go back to the individual states.
But I'm asking you specifically, would you
If
like
they
to...
overturned it, it'll go back to the states.
But what I'm asking you, sir, is do you want to see the court overturn? You've just said you want to see the court protect the Second Amendment. Do you want to see the court overturn Roe
Well,
v.
if
Wade?
we put another 2 or perhaps 3 justices on, that's really what's going to be, will happen. And that'll happen automatically, in my opinion, because I am putting pro-life justices on the court. I will say this, it will go back to the states, and the states will then make a determination. Hillary Clinton fought for the wall in 2006 or thereabouts. Now, she never gets anything done, so naturally the wall wasn't built. But Hillary Clinton wanted the wall.
Well, let me.
We are a
wait,
country
sir,
of laws.
Let me have.
And by the way,
No, wait. I'd like to hear from.
but you
I'd like
said
to hear
one
from.
thing.
I'd like to hear from Secretary Clinton.
I voted for border security, and there are some limited places where that was appropriate.
Sir,
We will not have open borders.
Well, let me
that is a rank mischaracterization.
Secretary Clinton.
We will have secure borders, but we will also have reform. And this used to be a bipartisan issue. Ronald Reagan was the
Secretary
last
Clinton,
president
excuse
to
me,
sign
Secretary Clinton.
immigration reform, and George W. Bush supported it as well.
Secretary Clinton, I want to clear up your position on this issue because in a speech you gave to a Brazilian bank for which you were paid $225,000, we've learned from the WikiLeaks that you said this, and I want to quote, "My dream is a hemispheric common market with open trade and open borders." So that's the question. That's the question. Please quiet, everybody. Is that your dream, open borders?
Well, if you went on to read the rest of the sentence, I was talking about energy. You know, we trade more energy with our neighbors than we trade with the rest of the world combined. And I do want us to have an electric grid, an energy system that crosses borders. I think that will be a great benefit to us. So I actually think the most important question of this evening, Chris, is finally, will Donald Trump admit and condemn that the Russians are doing this and make it clear that he will not have the help of Putin in this election, that he rejects Russian espionage against Americans, which he actually encouraged in the past. Those are the questions we need answered. We've never had anything like this happen in any of our elections before.
That was a great pivot off the fact that she wants open borders, okay? How did we get onto Putin?
Hold on.
No.
Wait. Hold on, folks, because this is going to end up getting out of control. Let's try to keep it quiet for the candidates and for the American people.
So just to finish on the borders.
Yes.
She wants open borders. People are going to pour into our country. People are going to come in from Syria. She wants 550% more people than Barack Obama. And he has thousands and thousands of people. They have no idea where they come from. And you see, we are going to stop radical Islamic terrorism in this country.
These cyber attacks come from the highest levels of the Kremlin, and they are designed to influence our election. I find that deeply disturbing,
Secretary
and
Clinton,
I think it's
She
time
has no
you
idea
take a
whether it's
stand,
Russia,
because
China, or anybody else.
I am not
She
quoting
has
myself.
no idea.
I am quoting
Hillary, you
17,
have no idea.
17 do you doubt 17
Our
military
country has
and
no idea.
civilian agencies? Well,
Yeah, I
he'd
doubt
rather
it. I doubt
believe
it.
Vladimir Putin than the military and civilian intelligence professionals who are sworn to protect us. I find that just absolutely
She doesn't like Putin because Putin has outsmarted her at every step of the way. Excuse me. Putin has outsmarted her in Syria. He's outsmarted her every step of the way.
I do get to ask some questions.
Yes, that's
And I would
fine.
like to ask you this direct question. The top national security officials of this country do believe that Russia has been behind these hacks. Even if you don't know for sure whether they are, do you condemn any interference by Russia in the American election?
By Russia or anybody else.
You condemn their interference?
Of course I condemn. Of course I can. I don't know Putin. I have
I'm
no
not
idea.
asking you. I'm asking
I
you,
never
do you
met
condemn?
Putin. This is not my best friend. But if the United States got along with Russia, wouldn't be so bad. Let me tell you, Putin has outsmarted her and Obama at every single step of the way. Whether it's Syria, no, you name it, missiles. Take a look at the startup that they signed. The Russians have said, according to many, many reports, I can't believe they allowed us to do this. They create warheads and we can't. The Russians can't believe it. She has been outsmarted by Putin, and all you have to do is look at the Middle East. They've taken over. We've spent $6 trillion. They've taken over the Middle East. She has been outsmarted and outplayed worse than anybody I've ever seen in any government whatsoever.
we're alone.
Simple question. She's been doing this for 30 years. Why the hell didn't you do it over the last 15, 20 years? You were very much involved. Excuse me, my turn. You were very much involved in every aspect of this country, very much. And you do have experience. I'd say the one thing you have over me is experience, but it's bad experience because what you've done has turned out badly. For 30 years, you've been in a position to help. And if you say that I use steel or I use something else, I make it impossible for me to do that. I wouldn't mind. The problem is you talk, but you don't get anything done, Hillary. You don't. Just like when you ran the State Department, $6 billion was missing. How do you miss $6 billion? You ran the State Department. $6 billion was either stolen, they don't know. It's gone. $6 billion. If you become president, this country is going to be in some mess, believe me.
I want to pursue your plan because in many ways it is similar to the Obama stimulus plan in 2009, which has led to the slowest GDP growth since 1949.
Correct.
Thank you, sir. You told me in July when we spoke that the problem is that President Obama didn't get to do enough in what he was trying to do with this stimulus. So is your plan basically even more of the Obama stimulus?
Better job. I built a massive company, a great company, some of the greatest assets anywhere in the world, worth many, many billions of dollars. I started with a $1 million loan.
Father gave me a small loan of $1 million.
But I built a phenomenal company. And if we could run our country the way I've run my company, we would have a country that you would be so proud of. You would even be proud of it.
Well,
Secretary Clinton.
at the last debate, we heard Donald talking about what he did to women. And after that, a number of women have come forward saying that's exactly what he did to them. Now, what was his response? Well, he held a number of big rallies where he said that he could not possibly have done those things to those women because they were not attractive enough for
I did not
them
say
to be
that.
assaulted.
I did not say that.
In fact, he went on to say...
Her two minutes, sir, her 2 minutes.
But did not say that.
It's her 2 minutes.
He went on to say, look at her. I don't think so. About another woman, he said, that wouldn't be my first choice. He attacked the woman reporter writing the story, called her disgusting, as he has called a number of women during this campaign.
Trump.
Nobody has more respect for women than I do. Nobody. Nobody has more respect.
Please, everybody.
And frankly, those stories have been largely debunked. And I really want to just talk about something slightly different. She mentions this, which is all fiction, all fictionalized, probably or possibly started by her and her very sleazy campaign. But I will tell you, what isn't fictionalized are her emails, where she destroyed 33,000 emails criminally, after getting a subpoena from the United States Congress. And all of her donors, just about all of them, I know Buffett took hundreds of millions of dollars, Soros, George Soros, took hundreds of millions of dollars. Let me just explain. All of her donors, most of her donors have done the same thing as I did.
Okay.
And you know what you should have done?
Folks, we heard
and
this.
you know, Hillary, what you should have done? You should have changed the law when you were a United States Senator. If you don't like it.
Yeah.
Because your donors and your special interests are doing the same thing as I do, except even more so.
Well,
you
you know-
should have changed the law, but you won't change the law because you take in so much money. I mean, I sat in my apartment today on a very beautiful hotel down the street, known as Trump.
Made with Chinese steel.
But I will tell you, I sat there watching ad after ad after ad, false ad, all paid for by your friends on Wall Street that gave so much money because they know you're going to protect them. And frankly, you should have changed the
Mr.
laws.
Trump,
if you don't like what I did, you should have changed the laws.
Mr. Trump,
She shouldn't be allowed to run. She's guilty of a very, very serious crime. She should not be allowed to run. And just in that respect, I say it's rigged because she should never, Chris, she should never have been allowed to run for the presidency based on what she did with emails and so many other things.
But, sir,
The FBI conducted a year-long investigation into my emails. They concluded there was no case. He said the FBI was rigged. He lost the Iowa caucus. He lost the Wisconsin primary. He said the Republican primary was rigged against him. Then Trump University gets sued for fraud and racketeering. He claims the court system and the federal judge is rigged against him. There was even a time when he didn't get an Emmy for his TV program 3 years in a row, and he started tweeting that the Emmys were rigged against him.
Should have gotten it.
This is a mindset. This is how Donald thinks. And it's funny, but it's also really troubling.
Okay.
No, that is not the way our democracy works. We've been around for 240 years. We've had free and fair elections. We've accepted the outcomes when we may not have liked them. And that is what must be expected of anyone standing on a debate stage during a general election. You know, President Obama said the other day, when you're whining before the game is even finished, it just shows you're not up to doing the job. And let's be clear about what he is saying and what that means. He is denigrating, he's talking down our democracy. And I, for one, am appalled that somebody who is the nominee of one of our two major parties would take that kind of position.
I think what the FBI did and what the Department of Justice did, including meeting with her husband, the Attorney General, in the back of an airplane on the tarmac in Arizona, I think it's disgraceful. I think it's a disgrace.
All right.
I think we've never had a situation so bad.
Hold on,
in this
folks.
country.
This doesn't do any good for anyone. Let's please continue the debate and let's move on.
Whatever happened to the element of surprise? Okay? We announced we're going after Mosul. I've been reading about going after Mosul now for about, how long is it, Hillary? 3 months? These people have all left. They've all left. The element of surprise. Douglas MacArthur, George Patton, spinning in their graves when they see the stupidity of our country.
Looking for some
Chris, we don't gain anything.
He has all these
Iran is taking over Iraq.
Secretary Clinton,
Iran is taking over Iraq. We don't gain
Secretary
anything.
Clinton,
We would have gained if they did it by surprise.
Wait. Secretary Clinton, it's an open discussion. Secretary,
we would have gained if they did it by
Secretary,
surprise.
please let
They did
Mr.
not
Trump
do that.
speak.
He's unfit, and he proves it every time
You
he
are the
talks.
one that's unfit. You know, WikiLeaks just actually came out. John Podesta said some horrible things about you, and boy, was he right. He said some beauties. And, you know, Bernie Sanders, he said you have bad judgment. You do. And if you think that going into Mosul, after we let the world know we're going in, and all of the people that we really wanted, the leaders, they're all gone. If you think that was good, then you do. Now, John Podesta said you have terrible instincts. Bernie Sanders said you have bad judgment. I agree with both.
Well, you should ask Bernie Sanders who he's supporting for president, and he has said,
Which is
as
a
he
big
has
mistake.
campaigned for me around the country, you are the most dangerous person to run for president in the modern history of America. I think he's right.
Let's turn to Aleppo. Mr. Trump, in the last debate.
What happens in the coming years? Lots of luck, Hillary. Thanks a lot for doing a great job. Just respond.
Well, no.
Because
sir,
I did
we're running out of
disagree with
time.
Ronald Reagan very strongly on trade. I disagreed with him. We should have been much tougher on trade even then. I've been waiting for years. Nobody does it right. And frankly, now we're going to do it right.
All right. The one last area I want to get into with you in this debate is the fact that the biggest driver of our debt is entitlements, which is 60% of all federal spending. Now, the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget has looked at both of your plans, and they say neither of you has a serious plan that is going to solve the fact that Medicare is going to run out of money in the 2020s, Social Security is going to run out of money in the 2030s, and at that time, recipients are going to take huge cuts in their benefits. So, in effect, the final question I want to ask you in this regard is, and let me start with you, Mr. Trump, would President Trump make a deal to save Medicare and Social Security that included both tax increases and benefit cuts, in effect, a grand bargain on entitlements?
I'm cutting taxes. We're going to grow the economy. It's going to grow at a record rate.
But that's not going to help on entitlements.
It's going to totally help you. And one thing we have to do, repeal and replace the disaster known as Obamacare. It's destroying our country. It's destroying our businesses, our small business, and our big businesses. We have to repeal and replace Obamacare. You take a look at the kind of numbers that will cost us in the year 17. It is a disaster if we don't repeal and replace. Now, it's probably going to die of its own weight, but Obamacare has to go.
Thank you both. Secretary Clinton, hold on just a moment, folks. Secretary Clinton, Mr. Trump, I want to thank you both for participating in all three of these debates. That brings to an end this year's debate sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. We want to thank the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and its students for having us. Now the decision is up to you. While millions have already voted, Election Day, November 8th, is just 20 days away. One thing everyone here can agree on: we hope you will go vote. It is one of the honors and obligations of living in this great country. Thank you, and good night.
He is the first candidate ever to run for president. He is the first candidate ever to run for president. He is the first candidate ever to run for president. He is the first candidate ever to run for president. He is the first candidate ever to run for president.
3 polls, I'm beating you. So, you shouldn't misrepresent how well you're doing with the polls. You don't have to say that. In fact, I was all for you until you started doing that, because that's a misrepresentation. Number one. Number two, this isn't me saying it. I don't care. I think I'm going to win fair and square. I don't have to win this way. Thank you. Lawrence Tribe and numerous from Harvard, said that there is a serious question as to whether or not Ted can do this, okay? There are other attorneys that feel, and very, very fine constitutional attorneys, that feel that because he was not born on the land, he cannot run for office. The entire early portion of the debate was Trump this, Trump that. In order to get ratings,
But Mr. Trump, it's not
in order
CNN.
to get ratings,
Mr. Trump, I was on CNN last night watching.
Excuse me. I think it's very unprofessional.
But it wasn't.
Hillary last night with, we're going to give this, we're going to give that, we're going to give that. The poor woman, she's got to give everything away because this maniac that was standing on her right is giving everything away, so she's following. That's what's happening. This socialist / communist, okay? Nobody wants to say it.
You could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever. But she was, in my opinion, she was off base.
He said about language. 2 days ago, he said he would take his pants off and moon everybody, and that's fine. Nobody reports that. He gets up and says that. And then he tells me, oh, my language was a little bit rough. Okay. My language.
Governor Casey, matter of principle, and I'll tell you.
You are the single biggest liar. You probably are worse than Jeb Bush. You are the single biggest liar.
All right.
This guy lied. Let me just tell you. This guy lied about Ben Carson when he took votes away from Ben Carson in Iowa. And he just continues. And today, we had robocalls saying Donald Trump is not going to run in South Carolina, where I'm leading by a lot. I'm not going to run. Vote for Ted Cruz. This is the same thing he did to Ben Carson. This guy will say anything. Nasty guy. Well, let me just, he wants to be a tough guy. A lot of times, you'll have, and it doesn't work very well with
How tough is it to take property from an elderly woman?
Let me talk. Quiet.
How tough is it?
A lot of times, that's all of his donors and special interests out there. Well, I'm very glad that Ted mentioned Arizona, because probably the toughest man on borders is Sheriff Joe Arpaio. And 2 days ago, he totally endorsed me. So thank you. Well, I also happen to call him a lightweight, okay? And I have said that. So I would like to take that back. He's really not that much of a lightweight. And as far as, and I have to say this, he hit my hands. Nobody has ever hit my hands. I've never heard of this one. Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it. Well, first of all, self-deportation is people are going to leave as soon as they see others going out. If you look at Dwight Eisenhower in the 1950s, they started moving people out and the rest of them left. Self-deportation, as I really define it, and that's the way I define it, is you're going to get some to go and the rest are going to go out. As far as the people that I've hired in various parts of Florida during the absolute prime season, like Palm Beach and other locations, you could not get help. It's the up season.
people didn't want to have part-time jobs. They were part-time jobs, very seasonal, 90-day jobs, 120-day jobs, and you couldn't get. Everybody agrees with me on that. I've heard Ted say that over and over again on television, that he's the only one that could beat me. Just for the record, I've won 10. He's won 3 or 4. Last week, in fact, on Tuesday, I was 500,000 votes higher than him. I was 1 million votes higher than Marco. 1 million votes. That's a lot of votes. This little guy has lied so much about my record.
Here we go. The person.
He has lied so much about my record.
Mr. Rubio, Senator Rubio, why don't you let him
And I will tell you this. First of all, I got a call from my sister and brother tonight, and they said, we had no idea Dad gave you $200 million. Believe me, I started off with $1 million. I built a company that's worth more than $10 billion. And I say it not in a bragging way, but that's the kind of thinking we need. Very low debt, tremendous cash flow. My financials are they're all in there with the federal elections. You've seen them. Everybody's seen them. I say it only because that's the kind of thinking this country needs with $19 trillion in debt. Believe me.
He is lying, Ted. You know, I came up with the idea, but you have to spell it right. It's L-Y-I-N apostrophe, Lion Ted. The Bible held high. He puts it down and then he lies. I never attacked him on his look, and believe me, there's plenty of subject matter right there.
Not reported on the financials. What the financials don't show also is your tax rate. They don't show whether you paid a low tax rate or no tax rate.
I find very hard to pay as little tax as possible, and I've said that for the last 2 years. I fight very hard because this country wastes our money. They take our tax money and they throw it down the drain. They spend $4 trillion in the Middle East, and we can't fix a road or a bridge. And I fight very hard. I consider it an expense because, frankly, our country doesn't know what they're doing with our money or our tax money, and that's part of the problem. So I fight very hard to pay as little tax as possible.
What is your tax rate?
It's none of your business. You'll see it when I release. But it was not me on the phone, and it doesn't sound like me on the phone, I will tell you that, and it was not me on the phone. And when was this, 25 years ago?
In the early 90s, but
wow,
yeah.
You mean you're going so low as to talk about something that took place 25 years ago about whether or not I made a phone call? I guess you're saying under a presumed name.
Yes, under a presumed name.
Okay, the answer is no.
Go ahead.
To follow up on that, you keep calling us the dishonest press, the disgusting press.
Generally speaking, that's 100% true. Go ahead.
I disagree with that, sir. And if I can ask you this question, it seems as though you're resistant to scrutiny, the kind of scrutiny that comes with running for president of the United States.
I like scrutiny, but you know what? When I raise money, excuse me, I've watched you on television. You're a real beauty. He was begging for my endorsement. I could have said, Mitt, drop to your knees. He would have dropped to his knees. He was begging.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
And if we nominate someone who agreed with John Kerry, Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton on foreign policy, we're not in a strong position to win.
Here's what you didn't hear in that answer, and this is important, guys. This is an important thing. What is your plan? I understand the lines around the state, whatever that means. This is not a game where you draw maps around.
And you don't know what it means.
What is your plan?
That's the problem.
What is your plan on health care? You don't have
a matter of principle, and I'll tell you.
You are the single biggest liar. You probably are worse than Jeb Bush. You are the single biggest liar. NBC Wall Street Journal just came out with a poll. Headline, Trump way up, Cruz going down. I mean, so you can't, they don't like the Wall Street Journal, they don't like NBC, but I like the poll. And frankly, it just came out. And in Iowa now, as you know, Ted, in the last 3 polls, I'm beating you. So, you shouldn't misrepresent how well you're doing with the polls. You don't have to say that. In fact, I was all for you until you started doing that because that's a misrepresentation. Number one. Number two, this isn't me saying it. I don't care. I think I'm going to win fair and square. I don't have to win this way. Thank you. Lawrence Tribe and numerous from Harvard, said that there is a serious question as to whether or not Ted can do this, okay? There are other attorneys that feel, and very, very fine constitutional attorneys, that feel that because he was not born on the land, he cannot run for office. Here's the problem. We're running. He does great. I win. I choose him as my vice presidential candidate, and the Democrats sue because we can't take him along for the ride. I don't like that, okay? Jeb is so wrong. You got to fight ISIS first. You fight ISIS first. Right now you have Russia, you have Iran, you have them with Assad, and you have them with Syria. You have to knock out ISIS. They're chopping off heads. These are animals. You have to knock them out. You have to knock them off strong. You decide what to do after. You can't fight two wars at one time. If you listen to him and you listen to some of the folks that I've been listening to. That's why we've been in the Middle East for 15 years, and we haven't won anything. We've spent $5 trillion in the Middle East because of thinking like that. One of the officials, actually one of the ex-officials from Mexico, had a news conference, and he announced that we will not be paying for the wall. Who does Mr. Trump think he is? They came to me, the press, these people. Look at all those cameras back there. The press came to me, and they told me that he said he would not pay for the wall. Do you have a comment? I said, yes. The wall just got 10 feet taller.
I can only say this, and I've said it loud and clear, and I've said it for years. And many of these people are sitting right in the audience right now, your lobbyists and your special interests and your donors, because the audience is packed with them, and they're packed with you. I've had an amazing relationship with politicians, both Democrat, Republican, because I was a businessman. As one magazine said, he's a world-class businessman. He was friendly with everybody. I got along with everybody. You get along with nobody. You don't have one Republican. You don't have one Republican senator, and you work with them every day of your life, although you skipped a lot of time. These are minor details. But you don't have one Republican senator backing you, not one. You don't have the endorsement of one Republican senator, and you work with these people.
Senator Cruz.
Oh,
my God! Trump and Lashley shaving Mr. McMahon bald. No, don't do this to me. You can hear Mr. McMahon screaming over here, ringside, JR. Oh, no. He's crying. Stop it. Stop it, don't. You're going to make me look like Vulcans. Oh, no, please. No. Oh, my God, no. Donald Trump actually doing the honors himself. One billionaire shaving another billionaire's head. And King, one of the great mysteries of life has just been discovered. It was Mr. McMahon's real hair all along. And he just lost it. Russell. Bald-headed blue. Oh, no, wait a minute. Oh, Donald Trump is having a little too much fun here, there. Hey, they're actually shaving Mr. McMahon's head. They got the striking things. No. Yes, I used to. Hey, be careful. A man's man like to be. I like that. But now, Sarah, what are you smiling at? You think this is funny? I'm not really smiling. You know, I've got Bill's palsy. I can't really smile big. Hold still, Mr. McMahon. You don't want to get nicked. Well, WrestleMania 23 may be all grown up, but Mr. McMahon's hair has been all cut off.
What's the difference between a wet raccoon and Donald J. Trump's hair? A wet raccoon doesn't have $7 billion fucking dollars in the bank.
Plus by a lot. Come on. Sicker than your average. Papa twist cabbage off instinct. Niggas don't think shit stink. Pink Gators. My Detroit players. Tim's for my hooligans in Brooklyn. Dead right. If the head right, Biggie there. Every night. Papa been school since days of under rules. Never lose. Never choose to. Bruise, cruise, who? Do something to us. Talk, go through us. Girls walk to us. Wanna do us. Screw us. Who us? Yeah, Papa and Papa.
Hillary Clinton is incompetent, okay? The greatest single thing, in my opinion, that she's ever done is to get out of the email problem. I think it's incredible. She did a great job on that. I am certain that it was a decision that President Obama truly regrets. Her bad instincts and her bad judgment, something pointed out by Bernie Sanders, are what caused so many of the disasters unfolding today. I see Hillary Clinton the other day. I don't like Donald Trump's temperament. And I was thinking, maybe I should say I actually have a very nice temperament, and I do. I get along. I have great relationships. I get along great. But you know what? It's time in our country that we had somebody with a strong temperament, I hate to say. What happened in Orlando is disgraceful. Disgraceful that a thing like that can happen. And then they don't want to mention what happened. We have a president that doesn't want to mention what really happened. It's called radical Islamic terrorism, right? That's what happened. And Hillary Clinton, through her incompetence, directly and indirectly created ISIS. And now she wants to get rid of it. She says, yes, we will fight ISIS. She's the one that created it. I mean, you see what happened today where Bill Clinton goes in the other day into an airplane. Just happened to be, just a coincidence, He just happened to be at the airport at this time. Think of it. Just happened to be at the airport. When I first heard the story, I said, no, you're kidding. I don't believe it. I thought somebody was joking. But it's not a joke. It's not a joke. It's a very serious thing. And to have a thing like that happen is so sad. And as you know, Hillary is so guilty. She's so guilty. Clinton wants to tax and regulate our workers to the point of extinction. True. She wants terrible trade deals, and she wants to continue terrible trade deals like NAFTA, signed by her husband, that will empty our manufacturing businesses even more so than they already are. During her time as Secretary of State, which was a disaster, she surrendered to China, allowing them to steal hundreds of billions of dollars in our intellectual property. Everybody knows this. We do nothing about it. She let them devalue their currency and add more than $1 trillion to our trade deficit. Then there was Libya. Secretary Clinton's reckless Libya invasion handed the country over to ISIS, which now controls the oil in Libya. Very, very pure, sweet, beautiful oil. Among the best in the world. ISIS has the oil from Libya. How do you like that, folks? Not so smart, right? So if you want to hear the corporate spin, the carefully crafted lies, and the media myths, the Democrats are holding their convention next week. Go there. Every dollar of energy we don't explore here is a dollar of energy that makes someone else rich, and really rich in some cases. I wonder if they're campaign contributors. What do you think? Do you think? They probably gave to the Clinton Foundation. So last night, we had this time. And then I wake up and I hear, number one, I love Saddam Hussein. I hate Saddam Hussein. But I love Saddam Hussein, according to the press, because they're dishonest as hell. They asked Ted, Lion Ted. I call him Lion Ted. He holds the Bible high, and then he goes down, he puts the Bible down, and then he lies. Lion Ted. He'll say, I'm the only one that beat Donald Trump. I said it before. I beat him. But he doesn't say, yeah, he won like 4, and I won like 12 or 13, right? He forgets the other part. But Lion Ted. Let's defeat her in November. Okay? And I watched President Obama today, and he was more angry at me than he was at the shooter. And many people said that. Rosie O'Donnell's show is a disaster. It's a complete disaster. We have a president who's out campaigning for crooked Hillary Clinton, and he should be home working on ISIS, where the threat is getting worse and worse. He should be working on trade. He should be working on the borders. People are flowing into our country from lots of places. the irresponsible rhetoric of our president, who has used the pulpit of the presidency to divide us by race and color, has made America a more dangerous environment than, frankly, I have ever seen and anybody in this room has ever watched or seen. In her testimony to Congress, Hillary Clinton said there was nothing more classified on my emails, either sent or received, right? She said that. I heard it, you heard it, we all heard it. The FBI director said Hillary had sent or received more than 100 emails with classified information, including emails with confidential, secret, and top secret information, right? That's what they said. I don't know Bernie. I don't know him. I never met him. But they didn't treat him right, honestly. And what happened, he ran a very, very good campaign. And Hillary's people just swamped him. You're looking at Deborah Wasserman Schultz. I'll take our Reince over her any day in terms of competence. Forget it. Not for being nice or any of those things. Who cares? I will take Reince in terms of competence over her, believe me, any day. The Middle East today is more unstable than ever before. Never been like this. Out of control. After 4 years of Clinton, who really led the way, and led Obama down a horrible path, because I don't even think he could have made these decisions so badly. So Ted Cruz took a speech that was done, was on the teleprompter, said hello, then made a statement that wasn't on the speech, and then went back to his speech. See, to me, that's dishonorable. To me, not signing a pledge is dishonorable. We're talking about serious stuff. We're talking about the lifeblood of our country. We're talking about the safety of our people. The laws are very explicit. Stupidity is not a reason that you're going to be innocent, okay? It's not a reason. And I don't happen to believe that it was stupidity, okay? But even stupidity is not a reason. And boy, what they've done. Just to finish with Ted, because I like Ted, he's fine. Again, I don't want his endorsement. If he gives it, I will not accept it, just so you understand. If he gives it, I will not accept it. Won't matter. Honestly, he should have done it because nobody cares. And he would have been in better shape for 4 years from now if he's going to be. I don't see him winning anyway, frankly. But if he did, it's fine. Although maybe I'll set up a super PAC if he decides to run. Are you allowed to set up a super PAC, Mike, if you are the president?